Yes, Jim Brewer, you absolute legend. My name's Sully and I'm from Manchester in the UK. Just listened to Danny's message from New Jersey and it's he said what I really wanted to say, but it's prompted me to send this to you because seeing that documentary with your dad has actually inspired me to look after mine. You're a saint, mate. And whenever I'm having a low point, anything like that, I just listen to you and I feel better knowing that there's people like you in the world doing what you're doing. So keep it up, mate.
Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer.
Hey, this is Jim Brewer.
There we go. We're back in action. So, just to recap a couple things so people know. I just announced a show March 31st in Naples, Off the Hook. We'll call it like a Jim Brewer Presents. Joe Sib and Rich Aronovich, like a comedy jam. So I'm going to host. I go up. I'll do a bunch of time, bring on one of the guys, and then I might have a special guest come in. It's kind of a Jim Brewer Presents down here in Naples. So March 31st, myself, Joe Sib, Rich Aronovich, go to the link, and possibly another guest. We'll leave it that for now. So what I want to talk to you guys today about is what I would say no one's prepared for. And what I mean by that is, I know a lot of you have seen the documentary More Than Me, but that's just one little, that's just caught on camera. That doesn't capture everything that leads up to that. And I feel like in times like today, the thing that bonds us together is what do we do when things are going down? Meaning, oh, wow, dad's got Alzheimer's or mom's had a stroke. And now your whole world has shifted. And you're dealt with so many dilemmas. Forget financial. It's a mental preparation. You know, no one prepped me for having my mom in my house while my wife's still recovering or trying to recover from cancer. And the three kids are at a certain age, and teenagers, and they're going through this. And my mom's in the house screaming, literally screaming at 3 a.m. The flood's getting higher! Jimmy, get the kids out of the house! And I'm sitting there at the top of the staircase like, Ma, every day, please just take the kids out of the house. And this is full tilt volume. I got to get up at 7 to bring the kids to school and then catch a flight. And you're like, what? What is going on? And then being insulted by your family. And then there's other family that don't know what's going on. They think they know what's going on, and they'd like to jump in and help out because it's convenient for them. Hey, I noticed that you're doing this with mom and dad. You really should be doing this. Oh, thanks. One who shows up, drinks and eats and then leaves, and you figured it out. Wow, that's great. Okay. Then you have, it's on so many levels. And that's why I liked talking about this over and over, because I feel there's so many people in that camp, or there's a lot of people that listen or watch. You have no clue that this is heading your way. You have zero clue this is heading your way. And it's not a tactic of, hey, oh God, here's a fear factor, but it's something you should know about. So I went through this thing, and then I started watching Brother Ronnie and his wife Mary, who I have to say is one of the they have 4 kids. Their family dynamic is something I look up to. And what I mean by that is, like, there's such a great bond with everyone involved there. And it doesn't matter about money, doesn't matter anything. It was like my sister-in-law Mary has this incredible family that's close, and the Brewers have, and the cousins. It it's an incredible family dynamic that I watched from somewhat of afar grow, and I always really, really admired it. I admired how close they all were, and how they spent so much time together and looked after each other. And every year they would go up to Lake George in New York and always have a family get together. I think I know that my wife and I were able to go once, and then there was another time I was up there and I was able to hang out like for a day, whatever. But it was always I always really admired what they're about. Well, you know, in a snap of a finger, that whole world takes a massive 360 turn, like so many lives do, and like so many families do. And that's when your life really starts to become defined. So I was playing the Paramount one night, and one of my nieces, Peggy, she's at the Paramount, and after the Paramount, one of my favorite things to do is go downstairs and just blow off steam. I have either friends or family. I would often bring brother Ronnie there because he didn't get out a whole lot. I got stories there that I can confess maybe now to his daughter. So, you know, there was it was and then there was I'll just leave it at that. So I would have strict. I'll wait till she comes on, but and Peggy was there one night, and Peggy I really look up to because she reminds me a lot of her mother, meaning her mother Mary would. She'd drive 2.5 hours to my place in Jersey and be like, okay, here's a snack. I got snacks for my kids, and we got this lined up, and then a thing, and we got to leave at this time because I go to church in the morning. And she was like, okay, at 8 a.m. this is going down. 9:30 this goes down. That we're doing this, and everyone was happy and cool, and she ran the whole thing, and Peggy found herself, along with her brothers, not only a mom and a sister, a daughter, in the middle of exactly what I was going through. And Peggy's at the Paramount one night, and she's, you know, she has a couple. We all would have a couple because we'd have our own little room, and and she's, you know, it's belly laughing funny. Peggy's very funny. She's relaxed at just hanging out. Very funny. The whole family's freaking funny. All the Brewers are hilarious. And I even said the one that Gary Breuer, who passed, may have been the funniest human being I've ever come across in my entire lifetime, without a doubt. I'm the only one who figured I can get paid for it. That's how it all came about. So Peggy's venting one night. Well, not even venting. She was just like, oh my God, like what I had to go through with mama. And now she's going through it with her dad. Like it's still in the middle of it. So I'm like, Peggy, we got to have you on. And the thing that I loved what Peggy said, Uncle Jim, people need to know about this. They're not prepared. They're not the paperwork, the trying to figure things out, the doctor visits, the getting someone to care. It's no one's ready for this. All this while, you know, she's holding babies and having a kid and trying to figure this out. And I went, my God, you're so right. And I have to say, one of the most times that people reach out to me is about my dad. Hey man, love your comedy, love you, but that thing you did with your dad, that taught me so much. I just got another one this past weekend. I got two more really heartfelt messages saying, I gotta say, you changed my life, how I look at my parents, how I look at, I was going through this and I didn't know how to deal with it. So I was like, Peg, you gotta come on. So without further ado, my niece Peggy.
Oh, hi, hello. That was a great intro. I hope I'm
It
your
was a
favorite
long
guest. My
intro.
goodness. I
Well,
love it.
thanks, Peg. Well,
I love you hearing you talk about my mom. I do.
well, your mom was, I mean, I always, first of all, she always laughing,
Yes.
always had like a little beam in her eye where she like knew the way I would
Yeah.
describe it is like Mary knew everything that was going on and knew even things you didn't know, but she did it with a twinkle in her eye. And it was
Yeah.
like, it was an incredible mother that I saw.
Yeah, absolutely. She liked to have a lot of fun,
She
for sure.
loved having a lot of fun. And I remember that
Yep.
all the way since I was a kid. Um,
hmm
and first of all, how is dad? I've tried calling him twice. He
Dad is
doesn't answer the
good.
phone.
No, he
Yeah.
does not know how to answer his phone. So
So,
it's funny. We got him like the older model iPhone. And now I don't even know how to use it because it's like so it's almost like it's one step above a flip phone. So it's somehow always on do not disturb. He never answers it except for the times when he wants to get in touch with us. He'll call nonstop and leave 7 voicemails in a row.
right,
But yeah,
right.
but he's good. We took him out actually a few days ago. It was him and my mom's anniversary.
Ah,
So I was like, oh, I'll take you out. We went to Frank's and Rockville Center, had some steak. So he was, yeah, he was happy to get out. He's good though. He's doing good.
does he know like it's the anniversary?
I He had called me that morning for something else, and I said, oh, you know what? Like, it's mom and it's yours and mom's anniversary. And he's like, oh yeah, okay. Well, can you get me some trail mix? So I was like, okay, all right, yes, I'll get you some trail mix. But do you want to go out tonight? He goes, oh, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. So then that was followed up by about 7 calls that day, making sure when he has to be there, what he has to do, if he has to bring his stroller, as he calls it, which is his little walker, which he doesn't need. Just a background story. He's in an assisted living now, but I think, and he's very young to be there, but I think he's just, conforming with the community. Like, well, everyone else has got a walker. I'm going to get one too,
Right. I mean, yes, he is young to
Yes.
be there, but
Yeah.
under
But
the
he needs to be there. Yeah.
yeah, what people don't understand is like mentally he can't drive.
Yeah.
Like he's done driving. He's done.
hmm
Yeah. There's not a lot you can.
No,
Yeah.
he likes that
It's
routine. He's got breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the same time every day. And then every so often, every few weeks or so, something comes up and I'm like, oh, this is exactly where you're supposed to be.
well, it's really funny because anytime I was, no matter where he was, or I thought he was mentally,
hmm
he knew when I was playing the Paramount, and I
Yeah.
would,
Oh, yeah.
and I would,
Yeah.
I'm like, Ronnie, I'm playing in August. Ah, August, August. Yeah, and then
August.
I'd give him the date. Like it will say like August 7th. August 7th. I'm gonna be there. Sure enough, the end of July, the
He's
phone will
calling you.
start ringing. Hey,
Don't forget about
uh,
me.
you doing the Paramount? Like, yeah, Ronnie,
Yeah.
we're coming to get you, and we're gonna go to that. And we'd always bring him to the little Italian restaurant on the corner across the street, caddy corner of the Paramount in Huntington,
hmm
New York. And one time, I wanted to change it up.
Oh
And
God.
it had nothing to do with the restaurant. I just like, I don't want to, I'm not in the mood for pasta. I want to go somewhere else. That
Throw him off.
I should have, it was no different than putting him in the middle of Wisconsin
Oh
and
yeah.
say, find your way home with no map.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So, we're not going there.
He is
No,
a
no, no.
creature of habit.
It was
Yeah.
so funny, but yeah,
Yep.
I got
You're right.
plenty of great Ronnie stories. So,
hmm
and even that, it was just it was a very Well, if you don't mind,
Mhm.
walk the story. I mean, I want to get into the fine details,
Yeah.
but the emotions of where you at in life, Peg,
Yeah.
when the first time you see something's off with mom, which I gotta say, our whole like everyone, even me from afar, when I first heard this, I was like,
Yeah.
what?
No way. Yeah.
No, not Peggy. She's 50. No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. Something else
Yeah.
is going on here. Something else is going on here.
So, yeah, so really what happened was, at the time, Ronnie's probably in his mid 30s. I'm a few years younger than him. Bobby's 6 years younger than me, and then Shawnee's the baby who's 5 years younger than him. So there's kind of a big gap
Your
between all of us.
siblings.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
your
my
siblings. Yeah.
siblings. So mom had been working with her employer Gil for years, who was great. He was so wonderful to her, and they moved locations. So they were in one office for say 15 years, and now they're moving to another spot.
Yeah.
And she really got so thrown off by it that she couldn't like figure out like her bearings. She didn't know how to use like the computer anymore. She didn't know how to do XYZ, whatever it was. So Gil was like, listen, why don't you take the summer off? Just kind of like relax or whatever. He must have sensed, and in hindsight, we never talked to him about it when you see, he works for her all the time. We should have gotten more feedback from him. But
Mm,
um, kind of relax for the summer, come back.
yeah.
So me at home, James is 1 years old, Maureen is 4 years old. Oh, you're off for the summer? You can come babysit for me. If you're not working for the summer, you can come help me out.
Right.
And then, you know, but we were kind of like, well, what's going on with you? She's like, I don't know. I'm just feeling like anxious. I don't know what it is. I'm just getting anxious, but don't worry. I'm going to do my jumping jacks. I do my jumping jacks all the time, and I'm not anxious anymore. But that was my mom, very rose-colored
Yes.
glasses. Like, yeah, no, it's fine. No,
Always.
I'm gonna cure everything with some jumping jacks and a glass of wine. It's fine.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so she would come over with dad, who now probably at this point kind of senses that she's not totally all there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I came home. I forget what it was. James wasn't feeling good. James was kind of crying. He was young still. He was only like one or two.
Yeah.
And I came home and my mom was watching the kids and she was like, James won't help me. And I was like, I don't understand. What are you talking about? James won't help you. Like, she just like kind of wasn't making sense. Any
Yeah.
case, got the kids calmed down. And I'm like, okay, well, you're gonna go to Ronnie's for dinner. And Ronnie only lives, I don't know, 2 minutes from me down the, a few blocks. She goes, she goes, I don't know how to get there. And I kind of looked at her and I was like, what do you mean you don't know how to get there? Well,
Mm,
I don't know how to, I don't know how to do that. And I was like, what do you mean? You've driven from my house to his house all the time. Like, what do you mean? You don't know how to get there. So I actually had to call
mm.
Ronnie. Ronnie picked her up and brought her there, but now she's still got her car here. But anyway, that was kind of the beginning of like something's off, something's weird with mom. She's not like she's forgetting
Yeah.
things. My grandfather, her dad, had Alzheimer's, but
Uh, mm.
he had it, later on in life. He was in his late 70s. Mom was only in her,
She was young.
late 50s. Yeah, she was in her late 50s.
She was a late 50.
Yeah,
She's exactly where I'm
yeah,
at right now in life.
yeah, yeah.
Same exact
hmm
spot.
Yeah,
I'll be 58 in June.
yeah, yeah.
And
She was, yeah,
that's another thing that blew my mind. Like,
yeah,
my God, she's my age.
yeah.
Okay.
And I think she was
Yeah.
also starting to, we're Irish. We love our wine. We love our cocktails. But she was starting to overcompensate for probably either being anxious or forgetting things. So, you have your, cheap gallon wine that she was drinking. And then, but
Right.
just doing things out of character where you're like, something's up here. So,
Yeah.
um,
Right.
what we did was we started to, we took her to some doctors. And at the time, her sister, Aunt Margaret, was very helpful. Okay, we're going to bring her to some few different doctors. And
And
okay,
that's another thing. Sorry
yeah,
to interrupt, Peg. Like,
yeah,
where do you even start? Like, what's the first thing you look
yeah.
at? I
I
guess
don't, yeah,
neurologist.
neurologist. Yep, they took her to a neurologist. And also at
Right.
this time, I have young kids at home. Ronnie, my older brother, had young kids at home. Bobby's only probably 28 or so, and Shawnee's 22. So he,
He's baby.
yeah,
He's
he's a
still baby
baby.
zone.
And my dad
Yeah.
is not capable of bringing her to appointments or any of that stuff because he doesn't absorb anything. So that's useless. So,
Right.
going
Right.
back to what you said about our big family, I'm so grateful for, my mom was one of seven that she had so many siblings who
Yes.
are willing to help. And okay, we're going to bring her to the doctor and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I remember one of the first things was like, okay, well, you have to stop drinking. Let's see if that curbs things. Let's stop drinking. Not that she would wake up and drink all the time, but all right, let's cut it out and see see if that clears your brain a little bit. And I remember, so that was like she just turned 60. And so I threw a little party for her. We were at like a local place in town and it was her
Yeah.
60th birthday, but now we're telling her she can't have a cocktail. And she was miserable. She was good though. She was like, when she was like, okay, no more, she quit cold turkey, but she would have rather been anywhere else than celebrating her 60th birthday. And the pictures I have of her, she is just like, why am I here? Like, what am I celebrating? Because I'm so pissed off that I can't drink that. Like, I'm mad,
And that's another thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
my mother-in-law and father-in-law, they have all these things. They're on 10 different medications, and all these things, blah, blah, but they love drinking wine every night. They love
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but people don't like people that drink every night, not to get wasted.
No, just have a drink. Yeah.
My parents drank every night. They start at 4:00, have 2 cocktails or whatever, and sometimes, but
Yeah.
to go from that to
Yeah. Can't drink anymore. Yeah.
no, and that's all you've known for a long
You're like,
time.
wait, what? Yeah.
I don't think people comprehend that's a major adjustment. It's not like today where we have all the information like, oh, this causes that and this causes that, and you really got to start carrying it. All right, so
yeah,
she's
and
at
not
the
that
party.
I think like clearly she had other stuff going on. It wasn't, I don't think drinking that led her to this point, but all right, let's cut some stuff out and let's see what happens,
And for the record, I've never seen your mom wasted.
Yeah, no. She was just
never.
Yeah. But it's funny though, because leading up to her kind of being diagnosed with something, she was doing so many things that were kind of like that were crazy. I remember one Christmas, again, Shawnee was young. Shawnee was only probably 20 or so, and he had gotten his girlfriend at the time like a watch. And he gave it to my mom on Christmas Eve. It was wrapped. He's like, this is for her. Can you just hold on to it? Because I'm going to give it to her later. And I remember Shauna saying, she's like, Mom's wearing the watch. I was like, what do you mean? So she had like forgotten and was now drinking so much that night that she's like, oh, someone gave me a gift and I'm going to put a watch on. So she was starting to do kind of things that were like, wow, what are you doing? Like, that was Sean's gift for somebody. Just put it on. So she was kind of starting to do things that were just so out of character for her, And she, like you said, she wasn't like falling over drunk ever, whenever, my family likes to drink cocktails, but we're not, so things like that, there'd be like a few different incidents. So we're like, okay, we're gonna cut out the alcohol and see where that brings us, but
It's
unfortunately that didn't do anything. It didn't bring her memory back. It didn't bring her, didn't bring anything back for her.
And
that was like, all right, something's going on. So let's start you on like a low dosage of Numenda, I think it's called. We're going to start doing this and, whatever. Truth be told, I don't think the medicines did anything for her. You would up it and up it and up it and see if it did anything. It really kind of, in my eyes, it didn't do anything. We tried everything. We tried stem cell, which was like $10,000. All right, we'll try it. We're going to try it. Dad fortunately had a good pension. He was a, retired cop.
Police officer.
Let's try it. Yeah, let's try it. I don't think it did anything, but we did. We tried whatever avenues we could to either slow it down or to stop it. But, eventually she got to the point where like, she can't watch my kids anymore. She can't babysit my kids. She can't do, she can't help out like she used to. So my Aunt Nancy, who is her youngest sister, who is
Yeah.
an angel. I mean, all my aunts are angels, but she's like, listen,
They
I'm
are.
going to, which, I'm going to retire and I will help take care of your mom.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's like, I'm going to do, I forget what the schedule was. It was like, I'll do like 5 days in a row and have a week off. So she was going to do like every other week kind of thing.
Mm.
Which was like, wow, this is great. We'll fill in the gaps where we can with helping her out. And at that time, she was still like mobile. She could still, she was probably starting to lose her speech a little bit, but she was still, she needed someone to care for her. She can be left alone.
Right.
So it was
Right.
just, and then I ended up getting pregnant. I was pregnant with Terry, and I couldn't help out as much. I'm sure, and it was hard enough for my brother. Shawnee's young, Bobby's young, and I'm grateful that I have siblings who I was close enough with, which is why I always think as I get older, it's so important to have a big family, because I
It
think that you lean on each other as you get older. I'm like, oh shoot, I would love to have two more kids, because then when I'm older, there's five of them to take care of me. I really think it
right.
is. It's so important to have a big family that you're close with and that you can rely on.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's something that you're saying that a lot of people may not resonate or understand
Hmm.
is you're having a child, you're having your youngest,
Hmm.
you have your little nieces and nephews, you're all in the middle of it, and someone
Yeah.
the emotions, which I'm already just hearing in your voice,
Yeah.
of I went through so much guilt.
Hmm.
I never felt like I was doing enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's only so much you
Yeah.
can do.
I know.
And you're not only in that predicament where
Yeah.
you're like, and people are like, oh, you're doing so much, and oh, you're the best. You still feel like,
You're
damn,
not. I know. I'm like, no, I'm not even doing nearly as much as I should be doing.
correct.
Yeah.
And it's a
Absolutely. Yeah.
nonstop guilty feeling that
Oh. Oh yeah.
that goes with this. So, if you're listening or you're watching, it's a very there's emotions you're not prepared for.
Absolutely.
Not prepared. And
Yep.
you're also in this land of, you want to be a great dad, great mom for everyone, but you got this thing tugging on you, and your mom's been there your whole life, and now you're like, oh am I abandoning her if I'm not spending this much time? And those are very brutal emotions. They're brutal. How many times, Peg, I'd be on the side of the road and I'd just park under a tree and have one of those, I call them the open mouth primal cries, like, like, what is going on?
Yep. I
Yeah, and these are,
remember.
yeah.
I remember actually. I had Terry. So Terry was born in June of 2018. And I remember I was coming home from the hospital that day, but my dad was working overnight security. He had already retired. He thought he was,
Yes.
the 10 hours a week he was doing with security was paying his bills, but he's like, oh, I have to work. I have to work. I'm like, hey, but dad, mom needs help. You can't, whatever. That's
Right.
besides the point. But I got
Right.
home from the
Right.
hospital and that night, and I'm like, mom's by herself, because she'd like kind of be sleeping, so you can kind of leave her alone when she's sleeping. I'm like, mom's by herself. She's going to wake up and no one's going to be there. So
Mm.
I woke up, just got out of the hospital. I brought Terry with me. I went right to my mom's house. So Valley Stream for me is probably like 10 minutes or so. And I was like, come on, mom, you're coming to my house. I'd rather her be sitting on my couch
Same.
than, anywhere
Right.
else. All right. So and 2 days postpartum, I was like, nope, I'm picking you up and you're coming and you're sitting on, which was difficult at the time. So now I got a newborn in his car seat, trying to get her shuffling. All right, mom, lift up your leg. Get into the car. Lift up your leg. So, oh my God, it was. And I think at the time too, because you do feel so guilty that I feel like I have to do these things. I have to. I have to
Yes.
go pick her up. I have to have her stay here
Yes.
so I can watch her so she's not alone. And
Yes.
I forget if she stayed over that day, but usually you do like newborn pictures. You do newborn pictures right when the baby's born. They try to do it within the first few weeks.
Yeah.
And she was over, and at that time she could still like manage herself in the bathroom. She could still, do whatever. Okay. She goes in the bathroom, and I have one of those latch key, like you don't do it by the knob, you do it on top.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
she goes in there again. So now I have three of them home. I don't even think Jimmy was home. So my husband was home. So I got the three kids. And now mom gets
Right out of the
herself,
hospital. Right
right,
out of the hospital.
mom gets herself locked in the bathroom. And now to try and tell someone who doesn't know what's going on how to unlock a latchkey door, mom, just go do up and over and down. And now you're doing this through the door. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm gonna have to knock down the door because she's just like, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what's going on. It had to have been
Meanwhile, you
like,
got in the background,
oh
the kids
my
go,
God. I'm like, come on, all right, mom, up, over, across, up. She had no idea. I'm like, I can't, like, it was,
how'd
but
you get her out?
I don't even know. I think she eventually moved it over, but it must have been 20 minutes of trying to talk to her of how to do it because I was like, Jesus Christ. But it's kind of stuff like that. And you're like, oh my God. And the kids don't care that grandma's stuck in the bathroom. They're like, all right, let's move it along. We got, Um, but it's crazy. And I just, you try to like, you feel so guilty. So you want to have these moments with them and have them at your house, but it's so stressful either way. You're either stressed because they're here and taking care of them, or you're stressed because you don't know who's taking care of them at home and if they're doing a good job, you know?
That you just nailed it, Peg.
Yeah, yeah,
You're stressed because of what they're going through and they're home and
yeah,
you're dealing with all that.
yeah,
And then when they weren't around, my stress level was through the roof
yeah. Oh,
of
yeah.
how they being taken care of.
Yes, absolutely.
It
It
it was
really does. And you have this pit in your stomach and you're kind of like trying to tell yourself, it's okay. You can, someone else is watching mom. They got them today or they do whatever. But then, the time, or maybe it's just dad and her, you'd just be panicking the whole time. So it's not, but it's not ideal to have my mom staying on the couch with three little kids running around and, me taking care of it's hard. It's not,
I was like that. I was like that with grandpa where in my head, I thought at least if he was in the house, and this is before I
yeah,
even lived, before I put him in the house, like I'd go pick him up. I'm like, no, you're going to stay at our house today. If the kids were outside, I would just put him
yeah, you stay here.
out. Yeah, you stay here.
You
I know
stay
you
here.
can't walk. I know you
Yeah,
can't get very far. You're in the shower. You're good. And I
yeah,
gotta check your bowel movement a little
yeah.
bit. You sit on the couch while everyone's talking and moving and blah blah blah. And I always try to put myself now in that predicament. I prepare now for
Mhm.
those predicaments, but that's another whole
Yeah.
situation. That's another whole thing.
Yeah.
So while you're doing all that, what was did you guys start needing help
Yeah.
to come
So
to the house
so Ed
or
Nancy, Ed Nancy had helped, like I said, I think it was like every other week she was doing. So the weeks where it was between me and my brothers, at this point, Shawnee wasn't a police officer yet, but when you're police officers, everyone's a different schedule. Ronnie and Bobby working overnight, they can't help like
right,
that they would probably want to. I
right.
work a 9 to 5 job. It's kind of piecing that in between of like, okay, well, I can go after work and I can do this, and we can have someone come here and do, all that stuff. So it did become, all right, we're gonna apply for, I think it's like community Medicaid or something like that. So
Mm,
they give you, here you go, you fill this out, I'll go shit. I went to a lawyer for that. I'm like, I can't even figure this out by myself, like to do everything I need to do. I could pay you to do it. Okay, you can help me out. But even still, even with a lawyer, you still have to, okay, you see this line in the bank? What's that? Go figure out what that is. And go figure out this. Like, it was a circus. A
that
circus.
that is the part that
Yeah.
no one understands.
Yep.
You have a life,
Hmm.
you're a mother, you have children, you're a wife, you're a daughter, you're trying to get by. And the next thing you know, they're like, oh, you need to apply for this.
Yeah.
What everyone does not understand. Oh, Medicaid, Medicare, it's all great. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. The amount of I had to find bank accounts
Yeah.
in my mother's name that I'd even know existed. They want to know all assets. They want to know things that I didn't know. I didn't even know where to begin looking for. Your accountant's like, your mom, yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Or what does she make as her pension? I don't know.
No, yeah, nothing.
I don't know. Well, you need to find that out. Well, where am I going to find the time to find that out? So now your weekends are screwed. Everything's screwed.
Everything. And I was fortunate enough that I had, I did work a job where I could have a scanner and I have a photocopier and I have, the computer and all this stuff. And I was young in my late 30s that I'm capable of doing this. But I always thought I'm like someone who is older. How are they figuring this out if I'm having trouble figuring this out?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also remember during that time too, I won't get into it. Yeah, I'll say that for another time because I don't think you guys went through. I don't think you went through. I shouldn't say that, but it's what would drive me nuts is all the outsiders just
opinions
bopping in
or whatever.
and
Yeah.
saying you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Why aren't you doing? I remember one of my in-laws coming over. I wanted to take her head and smash it through the wall. And she's like, your mom seems fine. Like, I don't understand why anything. I go, yeah, she's fine.
She's good.
She's good.
Yeah.
I went, yeah. No, she's great.
Yeah.
when it's like between noon and 2.
Yeah, for you got a 2-hour time span. She's great.
Correct. Now, when you leave, moron, she's in the closet looking for her bedroom.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm glad you bop in, and now all of a sudden you're a doctor and you got the analysis of what I go through 24/7. That stuff, absolutely. You have other outside. Mom doesn't want to be here. Oh, okay. So what's your suggestion? Put her in a nursing home? Great. Who's paying for that? Oh, the state. What I wanted to get into was, I don't know if you guys went through this process, and I'm just going to blatantly say it.
Yeah.
The amount of help that we went through to try to help.
Oh my God. Awful.
With my dad.
Awful.
I want every listener to understand this, and everyone, you have no clue what it's like trying to find someone to help someone in your family out. And what I mean by that is, for us, this is what people don't understand. It's your mother, it's your father, it's a human being. You have memories. This is your whole life. Or it's your uncle, or it's your sister dying of cancer. Whatever it is, the help, not all of them, but I will say this. I have no problem saying this. The state-run ones,
oh my God,
were below garbage.
Yes.
Below garbage. There's garbage, and then there's like, you should be arrested for the fact that you are assigned to take care of you. So many of them, I can't say so many of them were from other countries that would show up, because first you get the nice presentation. Here's what we do. And I've got my suit and tie, and we're very eligible, and we're, the state, and we take care of it. And then they send someone that could give a rat's ass about it. They're on the phone when you know how many times I went through 2 or 3 where I had to get cameras.
Oh yeah.
I had to get cameras because I would surprise, I'd be gone. I think I don't know if I was doing radio at the time, whatever I was doing. I'd come and I'd say, I'm not going to be home for like a couple hours. And I'd say that on purpose, and then show up and
surprise.
she's in my backyard sitting on a chair.
Oh my God.
On a phone, and my father's sitting in a toilet. And God knows how long he's been sitting in there. And I'm like,
so it's funny. And now you're bringing back a memory for me. So this was actually before we had tried applying for community Medicaid. And now we just found like a local kind of home care person who was around here. And okay, it's just private pay. You're going to pay this person. So he
Correct.
had paid whoever she was. And Ronnie had stopped by the house, and the aide was sitting in her car by herself. And
Oh, wow.
my mom was in the house. So Ronnie goes, "What's going on here?" She goes, "Well, it was too cold in the house because the heat's not on yet." So the aide was sitting in the car blasting her heat while my mom was inside in this like cold house, which by the way, it was like early November where, maybe the heat wouldn't even go on yet. So this wasn't like January temperatures, but the aide was cold. So she thought it was appropriate that she sat outside while my mother, if it was cold, was sitting inside by herself. And I was like, okay, we're done here.
Yeah,
We're done. Get out of
we're
here.
done.
Get out right now!
And the thing that kills me is that the owner of the home care tried to defend it. Like, well, I think she was just getting some gloves, and I think, oh no, she was sitting in her running car. Like, don't give me that, bullshit. And you're just like, what is wrong with people? What is wrong with people?
Well, that's
It's stressful enough, and now you think you get some relief that an aide's going to help out, and you show up, and the aide's in the driveway.
and it happens multiple times.
Oh
And
yeah.
my own personal experience is the system that has been established is literally made to just you're not able to help. You're forced to find these people
Yep.
and find these organizations. And in my personal opinion, I went through a couple. 99.9 were horrible.
In my opinion, that sucked.
And I finally, they leave it where you have to go private.
Oh
And
yeah.
private, now the state's not helping you. And Medicare and all these things that are here to protect you,
Hmm.
they're not helping you now. So now you're not only screwed in this situation because their help sucks and it's foreign and they're not paying them shit. And who knows if they're even legal and legally documented, because a couple of them were very suspect that showed up at my house.
Yeah.
Very suspect.
Uh-huh.
And they might be here on little green card visas. I don't know this for a fact. I'm telling you as a fact through what I went through, people. All the people that defend Medicare, Medicaid. So now you're stuck finding someone private. And how much do you think that cost?
Oh, thousands.
Now,
Thousands.
if you're thousands
Thousands.
a month,
Thousands.
thousands.
Yep.
And who's paying
I know.
those thousands?
When we had finally actually so mom was approved for Medicaid. Okay, so community Medicaid is, maybe it's different. I don't even know. There's different forms of Medicaid. So how it works for mom is, okay, she's drawing down from Social Security, whether she has like an IRA. So $1,700 a month gets taken out of her account, puts into this other account, and then you have to reimburse yourself. It's just like it's a headache. It's nothing is ever easy with how it's dealt with. But in any case, so, okay, you're set up. Mom gets 40 hours a week. Okay. Well, we can't find someone to do 40 hours. So this person's going to do Monday, and then you're going to have someone Tuesday through Friday. And all right, well, we're desperate. So you say, okay, whatever it's going to be. Now, my dad, he's OCD, he's antsy. So now you're inviting someone into your house, your living space for 8 hours a day. So I imagine
that you don't know,
that I'm sure dad is stressed on top of everything, and they don't have a big house. So there's nowhere for everyone to go. And 2 hours into the first day, whatever aide came, I'm not coming back again. You're like, oh my God. So now you got to find, now it's just, you lose your mind. You really lose your mind. And so there's like a CDPAP program where you could find someone and have them sign up for Medicaid and they get paid. It's kind of like, if maybe a family member wanted to become an aide, they could sign up for this program. Again, it's like, it's not a lot of money, but if you could find someone to do it. So at the time, this was around COVID. So I had to work from home. So did Jimmy. Everyone got, remote overnight. So
right.
My babysitter, who is an angel, I begged her. I'm like, can you please help with my mom? Can you sign up for this program and help my mom? I will pay you on top of that just to eat, because I know it's not a lot of money. And by the grace of God, she said yes. And it's like, okay, so now you fill out this. Like, here you go, fill out this. And she's like, so you go get a physical and you go do this and you do whatever. And I was like, I felt so awful, but she was an angel to my mother. She treated her probably better than I would have ever, or my siblings would have taken care of her. And she did such a great job, but she also can only work. She works during the week, or if she's off, then, what do you do? And the rest of this time, overnight, weekends, it was up to us. But it was, before that, we would go through people and you're like, I don't even know who you are, but I guess you can help. I don't know.
Right.
You know?
And that's a great point that you just brought up,
Mhm.
Peggy. People don't understand. You're in desperate mode.
Desperate. Yeah.
This isn't like, oh, I'll call the state and we have great pension and we have great coverage and oh my God, our medical system is so caring in this department when you need them.
No.
This is probably the worst experience
Awful.
I would never want anyone to go through. And what you don't understand is, just like Peggy said, one would come and you go, oh my God, I love this one. I think this is a true. Well, I can only be here on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
So those 2 days are covered.
All right. So, all right, you're covered.
Yeah.
The next one comes in. Well, I'm not going to do it unless I could do it all week. Okay. Well, yeah, but you kind of suck, but maybe that's more to do. And then 2 days in, she's the worst.
Yeah.
I found my father on the floor. I hope it wasn't me, but he slipped in the shower. Jesus Christ.
I know.
I explained the whole shower.
No, this is what we do.
I walked you through the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I walked you through this.
Yeah.
How does he slip? There's a chair and you sit him in the chair. I know. Oh my God.
And it's crazy too, because they will, they do an assessment. So at first we got approved for 40 hours a week, whatever, which for someone with dementia, 40 hours is nothing. That she needs 24-hour care. 40 hours is nothing for her. So I think we reapplied to get more hours, and the same thing, you got to sit down, you got to do, everything's virtual. So, after
this is all time consuming.
The third time you do this, it takes 2 hours to do all this stuff.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, Mom, sit next to me. And at this point, I think she was in diapers at this point. Mom's sitting next to me. And I know the person's only is doing their job. They are just the nurse who's doing the assessment. She goes, okay, so I'm going to tell your mom 3 words, and she's going to repeat them back to me. I'm like, she doesn't even know what she's looking at. Are you insane? So the lady's like, Mary, okay, tissue. And my mom's like she's not even looking at you, and you think she's going to repeat these words back to you. So they do a whole 2-hour assessment. We get it back in the mail. No, she's not approved for anything extra. I'm like, I wanted to murder someone. I said, this woman can't stand on her own, can't go to the bathroom without help. She's not speaking at this point, but you're still saying 40 hours is sufficient for her to be cared for. It blows your mind. It blows your mind. I am thankful, again, for my big family. If we needed kind of a break, or like someone, okay, I can take care of Mom for a few hours. I can do whatever. That's fine. But like, there's so many people who don't have anyone else who can pinch in, It's
what do you do if you have nobody? What do you do? You rely on a system that
is broken.
Quite frankly, it's broken. Come on, RFK Jr.
Did he get confirmed, by the way? Did we hear that yet or no?
I don't know.
Oh, but God, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed is right.
Yeah.
And this is something I would like to bring up to him as well, and the whole system, because it is such a brutal taste of ending people's lives, and they may not even know what's going on to a degree, or maybe they do, and there's nothing, and they've reached a point where they know there's nothing they could do about it. But for the families that go through this, it is absolutely horrifying. And then the other thing is, which I'm sure tugged on your heart too, but now you realize it is a good thing, is putting them somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that too, I would never put my dad in anywhere because I just know I knew I can take care of grandpa or do what I can. But with my mom, there's no
You
way. Because the thing with
You know
grandpa
what?
was
Yeah.
he was mobile.
Yeah.
He was immobile, I mean.
Yeah.
He couldn't walk, so it wasn't like he was
It wasn't
escaping the
going
house.
anywhere. Yeah.
He didn't talk, so it wasn't like he was like, I don't feel good about this. Like he would not, he was like your dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't have to. There wasn't a lot of maintenance that way, except for me asking. You good?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
feeling all right? You want to go outside? Okay, I don't know if that's a yay or an nay, but we're going outside.
Yeah. Whatever it is.
Where my mom, there was a point where I couldn't physically and mentally do it, and oh my God, I remember one time I left her. I said I left her with one sister who, I talked about. It's on me. It's on me. I needed a break so bad with Dee and the kids, and I said we're going away for 4 nights, 4 nights in Florida. That's all I ask. If you can watch mom. Now listen to me. She's gonna say nasty things to you.
It's not
She's gonna
pretty.
she's not. It's not your mother.
Yeah.
You got to remember. Think of it as a possessed animal. It's not mom as we know it. Mom may be gone. You can't. I don't think it lasted a day or two. And she's like, so she's saying terrible things. She's kicking me.
God.
And I said, you can't drink. You can't drink.
Yeah.
You got to be alert. 24/7. You got to be alert. This ain't a party. I paid her cash. I paid her money. I did everything. Well, here's the part that drove me nuts. I come flying back to New Jersey, and she's like, mom's in the hospital.
Oh, no.
What do you mean she's in the hospital? Well, I couldn't do it. I had to call the police. She ran outside. But so they bring her to the hospital while she's in the 80s. She's blind in one eye.
Oh,
and
God.
And she's in the psych ward department. So I have to go to Morristown, New Jersey. And here's my mother, who can't see out of one eye, sitting in what looks like a jail cell with a little toilet, and there's people in there going, I'm gonna slice someone's head off, mother.
Oh, God.
Slice your head off, mother.
Oh,
like,
God.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is where you have this elderly woman, Morristown, New Jersey. You're sticking an elderly woman in a psych ward. Dude,
That's wild. I know.
The
And I think,
emotions.
the problem too is especially with something like dementia, that is a mental disease and not a physical disease, is that people truly don't realize, they don't know how to react to someone, especially my mom, who was a yapper and bubbly and blah, 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 blah. And then maybe they hadn't seen her in a while, and my mom can't talk or do anything, and they're like, "Ooh, I like," they don't know how to react to it. Whereas, if someone has a broken arm or broken leg, even my dad reacting to her, I don't think he fully, like, he was like mad at her because she wasn't thinking clearly. But if she had cancer or had a broken leg or had something physical that you could see, I think he'd have so much more, you know, sympathy for her. But a mental, a cognitive disorder like that, people just don't know how to react to it, and they don't know how to handle it, which I get. I get, it's not comfortable because, like you said, that's not mom. It's your mom, but it's like, this is a totally different version that,
Right.
it's,
And you're tapping into things that they may not know about Peg's father, brother Ronnie, is he was a cop, so he was also for people that don't know, he was he was also very quiet. Never talked about it. Never talked to me
Yeah.
or anyone about most
Anything.
things
Yeah. Hmm.
most things he saw on the police force, which would also make me foam at my mouth when anyone tried to be, there was this big whole propaganda push of how bad cops are, and it made me really I had very bad angry emotions towards anyone that would speak in such a uh uneducated way of what they truly go through.
Absolutely.
They don't realize, people don't realize they're the first ones on at domestic abuse. Do you know what it's like for a man to show up and they see a baby beaten, and then they gotta and know that this exists, and then try to arrest them or move the kid, and then the court system's like, yeah, nice job, but we're all connected, we gotta let him go. And so the first one at an accident that has to see someone who has passed away. So whatever that person, it's like a veteran going to war, and they don't talk about things. So those emotions of your dad, who your mom was the caretaker, sort
Right.
of like my mother.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
mom did everything. He's doing my dad's laundry. He's making my dad meals.
Yeah.
She's doing his laundry. She's doing his meals. She's bringing him around. She's setting things up. She's setting up where to go. And then we're doing this on Friday day, and we're doing this on Saturday. And then all of a sudden, they start. They're now losing, and that's all they've known their whole life.
Yeah.
That's their rock.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden the rock is not there,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
they don't know how to handle that. And that's all they've known. And
Yep.
the fear of, I always thought too of your dad. Now, this is just my perspective, to go, holy shit, I finally come to the point where I got through this madness of what I learned. He came from a broken family. For those you don't know, so my dad, my mom, I was the only child from that marriage. My dad had 3 children, the Brewers, Gary, Ronnie, Janet, and my mom had 4 from like 3 different guys and kids in that direction. So to have, that's all you know in life, and you've always done the right thing. So he gets through the divorce as the baby, and does the right thing, and finds a job, and he gets his pension and takes care of his family, or at least the best that he knows
Thinks
he
he can.
can,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
because his dad was out of the house. His mom, I didn't know his mom very well. I didn't know your grandma well.
Hmm.
So that's all he knows, and he's going through that. And then he raises the kids, and he's got a great wife, and now all of a sudden the wife is on the outs,
Yeah.
and he finally reached this point where, like, hey, we can start living.
Yeah. I know.
And
Retire
the
and say, all
rug,
right, we can do. Yeah.
we can
I
start
know.
living now. And then the
Yeah.
rug is pulled out from under you, and he's
Yeah.
already in the zone of like,
Yeah. I know. I
So
feel like he was very, I mean, both of my parents were very robbed of their,
totally robbed.
retirement. Yeah,
Totally robbed.
100%. And especially for, you know, my mom who loved going to AC, loved taking little trips with her, with her sisters, with her mom, like doing like she loved doing that stuff. And it really almost happened like, and I remember one of the last times we brought her to Lake George, we're kind of like, are we gonna bring her? Are we not gonna bring her? Because it's Lake George wherever we stay is kind of hilly too. It's not, she wasn't making it down to the beach, and she just, which is fine. We hang out in the cabin, we hang out, it's not a big deal, but it was very, kind of bittersweet where we're like, okay, this is actually the last time. We've been going since I was 3, so we've been going there 30 something years. Oh, how old am I? You know, this is the last time she can be here because and I remember I had gotten her up because she had stayed in my cabin, and she immediately went to the bathroom. She didn't have anything on because this was pre her needing anything. And I was like, oh, fuck. She just pissed all over the floor. And as sad as I was like, okay, you gotta go now. Okay. And I think Aunt Nancy had done half the trip, so she was like, okay, I'll take her home, whatever. But it got so, so hard. And you feel so bad because you want to do everything that you possibly can. And I actually remember another time too when Terry was a baby and mom stepped out of my bathroom and I said, Mom, what is that on your foot?
Oh no.
Well, she had on the floor and came out stepping in it. And I was like, oh my God. I think I called up Ronnie. I said, somebody has to take her right now. And I felt so bad because mom was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. And I was like, okay, it's fine, everything's fine. You know, it's okay. There's shit everywhere all over my bedroom.
There's shit everywhere!
But you want to help as much as you can. And again, I'm a young mom with the 3 kids, and I'm like, this was kind of the point where I'm like, we can't keep
Yeah.
up with this anymore. We can't. It's crazy, and it's sucks.
You know that the another tough part is knowing they're gonna pass.
Yeah,
Like we all know we're here on borrowed time,
yeah,
and which I gotta say, I'll give that to my mom. She started putting that in my head when I was young. I was 5 years old, and I do this to my kids now. I constantly do this to my kids, and they don't like it the way I didn't like it with my mom. And she go, I'm not going to be here in X amount of time. When I'm most likely not going to be here. And I like, stop saying that. She's like, well, it's the truth. And it actually, I say that to my kids now. I'm like, listen,
yeah,
20 years I'm here. Stop saying that. I'm like, well, I don't know.
yeah,
You don't know. And these are things I shouldn't say you should dwell on, but
yeah,
we're not immortal. We're all here on borrowed time. So we
yeah.
really had to think about what we're doing in this time. But the knowing that they're going, I'm going to say for me, was so brutal. Like to the point where, and I'm going to assume you went through this, and this is what I tell everyone too. When they go, yes, it's horrifying, and but I was so relieved.
Oh yeah, yep.
I'm relieved that she doesn't have to go through this.
Hmm.
He didn't have to go through this. We didn't have to go through this. And then you go through the guilt of, am I supposed to feel this way?
You're
And
right.
and I and
Absolutely.
I and that I had people that were so helpful just with those two things that really, really helped me was I think it was on Opie and Anthony, and I was venting
Oh
about my mom because she started, yeah, Opie and Anthony, and
yeah.
I started getting a little mad because as my dad was really declining, my mom would get a little
Handsy.
physical with him.
Yeah, yeah.
She'd get a little
Yeah.
handy with him, and
Get pissed off.
and I didn't, I'm venting on the radio,
Yeah.
and thank God this guy called in, and he's like, because there were a couple of us on the radio, and he goes, I want to speak to Jim. I go, yeah, I'm here. He goes, listen, I'm listening to you talk about your mother. Listen to me. I've been studying this for a very long time. I'm a doctor and whatever he said he was. He goes, I'm going to ask you I think I can help you at least understand why she's doing this. He goes, I'm not saying you forgive her for doing this, but at least you'll understand. I said, all right, I'm all ears.
Hmm.
He goes, your mom is going through horrible abandonment issues. I went, okay.
Okay.
All right, well, I go through abandonment. I don't
Yeah.
smack people or shove them.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I'm going to ask you, and I want you to be honest. Did your mom go through major trauma when she was young? And I went, oh, yes. Yeah. When she was a teenager back then and got married and pregnant, her first husband was killed in World War II 6 weeks before the war ended. So she had, and I went, he goes, was there more? And then I went, oh, 2 years later, she always talks about her dad. Her dad died in her arms 2 years later. probably most likely
geez,
a
I didn't know that.
stress. And then a year later, her uncle, his father, died as well. So all the strong men in her life
Yeah.
killed and died, and she hated. She had, I don't know how her mom treated her, but she always like, my mother, and she was horrible to me. And so then I started seeing the course of my mom, like growing up, like, oh shit. And he goes,
Yeah.
there you go. He goes, so her only way is survival and anger and resentment because that's all she had to comfort her growing up. And I went, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now at least I had a different angle, but it took a while. It took a while for me to forgive and all that jazz. But the
Yeah. It's
emotions of waiting for that phone call nonstop
mhm.
were brutal. But I have to say, when it was over, I did feel extremely relieved.
How long after Grandpa passed did your mom pass?
And this is very interesting too, because I want to touch on this too. I think 2 or 3 years.
Oh, so that's pretty
Now wait a
quick.
minute. Yes, maybe. I'm trying to think because I remember my sister Patty died
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
before she passed, and I was just like, oh my God, do I tell my mom another one of her kids passed?
Oh
Because
God.
her oldest son died, Eddie, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this late, and is she even going to understand it? So I did have to. So I want to say that was 2000. I'm going to say about 2 or 3 years later. So it was like my dad, then
Yeah.
Patty,
Then
and
Patty. Then
then
yeah.
my mother, and so. But I just remember it was such a relief when it was all said and done.
Yeah.
Not that it was easier,
And it's
but
it's funny too because I feel like I never want to revisit those times of how stressful it was and all of the and I'm like, okay, that's gone. I never want to think about this
yes,
again. It
right.
really yeah. So what happened with my mom was she actually fell at home and she can't tell you something hurts because she wasn't verbal at that point, but we knew clearly something was wrong. So we kind of like, all right, well maybe she just needs to like rest. She was at the point and she was home with the aide at the time, but I think she just sat where she thought a chair was going to be and it wasn't there, you know. Anyway,
Right.
she broke her hip, but to get her an X-ray in
Right.
the house to do this instead of bringing her to, we couldn't even get her, you know, to the hospital at that point. We could have called the ambulance again. This is like still COVID was kind of weird and you don't want to bring them unnecessarily, whatever. But she ended up breaking her hip. The doctor says, okay, well, we can have surgery, or she could
Mm,
just not have surgery, and this is how she's going to be.
mm,
So we go, well, okay, well, I guess we'll try the surgery. I don't know. You know, what are you going to do? It's just going to be like a lump now. So she had surgery. She went into
mm,
rehab. Rehab
mm,
immediately say, well, she can't eat. Let's put a feeding tube in her. I'm like,
mm,
absolutely not. Because while you guys were here discussing it, I just fed my mom a protein shake and a yogurt and this because they don't have the resources or the time to sit and feed someone who's not capable of feeding themselves. So
mm-hmm.
I was like, there's no way we're giving her a feeding tube just so I mean this isn't a life that she can
Yep.
live, you know.
Yep. Yep.
So after
The
that
hospital life.
we ended up finding an assisted living, which was I don't even want to tell you the cost of the assisted living because they went touring for like a nursing home. All right,
I'm
let's
gonna
go here.
say it was between 7 and 15,000 at the least, at the very least.
It was 15,
Yeah.
mid
Yeah.
15 actually. Yeah, for the month.
Yeah.
Because
They suck.
she was also the highest level of care. So now you can't
Yep.
just find any assisted living. You need to find one that's has the enhanced license that's capable of doing XYZ. We had toured like 5 of them. And it's funny because, assisted livings are salesmen, basically. Of course, they want you to come in. Look at this. It's great. Oh my God, we're going to bring this in. All we
We
have to
do
do is do an assessment.
movies.
This
Yeah,
is great.
Tuesday night we do bingo. They eat.
Yeah, it's great. And you're like, oh, all right, this sounds great. Okay, so give us all of your money. um,
All of it.
all of it. But they, like, okay, all we have to do is we'll do an assessment to see where your mom's level of care is. I think 4 of them were like, oh no, we can't take your mom. So now even the hope of getting, okay, we found a place for mom. This is great. All they have to do is evaluate her to go, oh no, we can't take your mom. Like, fuck, oh my God. We got to the point where we were like, what do we do? Where are we going from here? So we found one place that was able to take her. She lasted there 2 months. And as much money as you pay, that doesn't guarantee their care of anything. Because again,
Nope.
she really still needed someone by her side all the time, helping her with feeding or doing whatever. And she looked awful. I know you hadn't seen her probably.
Yep.
She was
Well, I remember
God, it was awful.
Yeah, it's
And
terrible.
at the time, I was working for a hospital system, and I was able to get her into, not that me working there did anything, but I got her into the hospice, inpatient hospice there, which was also a song and dance, because what the hospitals don't tell you is they basically have to be on some type of pain medication in order to get into in hospice. But I don't know any of this. I mean, I have my friend with me who's a nurse, who, thank God, I think everyone needs a friend who's a nurse to tell them everything that they're not telling you. And she was in hospice one night. Me, my brothers, and their spouses brought a bottle of red wine, and we put a little bit on a Q-tip and put it a little bit in mom's mouth.
That's what I started doing.
And you know what? The next morning, we thought we probably had a few days. The next morning, I went in, I guess a little naive. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop in the morning, and then I have something else to do. And I called my brothers, and I was like, oh no, it's time. We have, like, you guys got to get here. And they're like, wait, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, it literally happened that fast. And my grandmother was still alive at that time. So this was her 3rd child who was dying.
Right.
Yeah. And I swear my mom waited until she got there and had maybe 2 or 3 more breaths, and then she passed away. Yeah. It was very surreal. And you kind of like look around, you're like, wait, is she dead? Like, I have no idea, because it's so surreal, and you're like, did that just happen? Like, I have no idea. And the weird part is that, growing up, we went to Blessed Sacrament in Valley Stream. Like, my mother is very religious. We had to be at 5 o'clock church every Saturday.
I know.
And as we were leaving the room, this priest from when we grew up, when we were there, comes out of the room across the hall. And we haven't seen him in decades. And he'd go, Father Greg? And he's like, yeah. Like, oh, my mom just died. Can you say a little prayer? It was just like, what are the chances that he's there? We haven't seen him in years. We're in a different town, and it just, it was so very surreal to kind of have that experience where you see kind of the life go out of someone. It was crazy,
It is crazy. I try to see it with my mom. I saw it with Grandpa.
Yeah.
Grandpa was the greatest. When I say the greatest, at least I don't know if you know the story, but so he's in hospice, but I was like at the house. They're like, we don't really. I'm like, no. I'm doing this.
Yeah. And then you're in charge of their meds and everything, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And, I was talking to your dad, and even with your dad, I think he had a tougher time than me.
Yeah.
He did. And so I have Grandpa in the, and I'm like, and he wouldn't go, he's sitting there, he's got weird breathing. And they're like, yeah, we think we'd have someone come in. I go, I think tonight's the night. I went, oh, okay. So we're waiting. And then I I didn't leave his side for like 2.5 days. So I haven't
Wow.
showered. I smell.
Yeah.
I've got the Mets playing. I'm playing Johnny Cash. I'm doing
Yep. That's what we
talking
did
to
too. We're
him.
like, all right, we're gonna put on all
Right.
your favorite music. Yep.
Yeah, put his favorite music. I'm telling
Yeah.
him about great things. I'm whispering in his ear, blah, blah, blah. And then literally, my one nephew, Steve-O, comes over and he's like, oh, phew, you smell like a goat. You smell nasty. Grandpa's staying alive because he can't leave because you're smelling. You're keeping him alive. Oh, he's being funny. So I go, okay, I'll go take a shower. And I said to Grandpa, listen to me.
Give me 5 minutes.
I said 5 minutes. That's what I said. I said,
Yeah.
don't try to sneak out of here while I'm away. I know you. You don't want anyone here, but tough shit. I'm gonna be here. So I go take a shower. Peg, I'm literally like shaving real quick, and 30 seconds in there, right, guys?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Dory comes in. She's like, Dad, Grandpa's like moving and awake. And I knew, they told me right before they go, they
Oh,
get
okay. That like a last minute.
last
Wow.
minute like thing. So I got running downstairs and I saw it was over. He was like,
Oh God, yeah. Oh.
So I jumped into bed, I grab him, and I remember saying, I remember going, you sneaky bastard. I told you you try to sneak out of here. And I got to, and I got to do it. And
Yeah.
what was wild is you hear, I don't know, it was your mom, but he did it like 2 or 3 times. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
and then he go, oh,
Well, it's at the time I was like, so that's what mom was doing. Mom was doing that labored breathing, and she had one big gasp, and then it kind of was like quiet, and then
yes,
we're like, but then she goes,
right,
and she did it again. So my dad goes, oh, thank God. I'm like, well, Dad, she's only got a few more left in her. Is it like,
right,
yeah, I'm like,
right.
well,
Don't get excited.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
get excited.
I know.
She's going.
She's only
I
got a
even
few
said,
more. I know.
there was one point I was going to put a pillow over his head. Like, I can't take this anymore. I
I
can't.
know.
3, 4. I just,
I
dear
know.
God. But I'm glad you got to be there. And it's just such a, and I will say this, I don't know how it was with your mom, but when he left, like, to put him down, I just kept looking at him and I was like, oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
Like there's no hovering. His presence is in the room.
Yeah.
It was like
Gone.
this thing and it was, I'm looking at the body like I had zero attachment
Zero.
to what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Zero. I was like, oh, he left the planet. He's out of here. And I kept looking and blah blah blah. But yeah. it's a very long, emotional, rough thing.
Yeah.
And I hope that, at that time I was really a big advocate I was helping a lot of people, and I wanted to start a organization, which was another thing, was such a pain in the balls. So if I wanted to start an organization, right? If I just want to start and my idea was I do shows, like let's say I do a tour and half the money goes in a fund. And that fund is for caretakers. And I remember working with a good friend of mine, not working, but she was an incredible caretaker. Incredible caretaker. But she was also working in the Medicare. And she's like, you don't understand. In order for me to take care of someone, I got to go through, I need this license, that license, this license, that license. And I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, screw all that.
Oh, 100%.
I would have trusted that woman with my life.
Well,
and
that's it. That's the funny part too, is that you can have certain people or aides in, and they would say, "Oh, well, that aide can't give medicine then," and I'm like, "Well, that's half of the battle. What do you mean?
Right. She can't give
What
him
do you mean
medicine.
she
Right.
can't? She's like, well, she can put it in the cup, but can your mom bring it to her mouth and do whatever? I'm like, no, she can't. You have to do that. And
Right.
she had also had like a patch. It was like a memory patch. Again, one of those things. Did it do anything? Who
Of
knows?
course, but it costs money.
But they
This
were
will help.
like,
Try this.
well, do you think if the aide puts it on a tissue, then she can get it on? And I'm like, is this real life? This is what we're talking about. And it just seems so crazy because this is part of the stuff we need help with. So no, she can't do that on her own. If I knew she knew how to give herself a patch and give herself meds, well then I probably don't need you half the day, you know?
That's a I'm so glad you
Yeah.
reminded me of that. That's another thing. Like when I see these so-called politicians and
Hmm.
they're like, it's just going to affect Medicaid. No, I felt like saying it should. And it
Yeah.
should destroy the whole system because it's all bullshit.
Hmm.
Because just like you said, we're dealing with, okay, here's a state-run,
Hmm.
government funded bullshit program to look after your elderly parents, a World War II veteran,
Hmm.
fought in the war. You think the world would go after to help a human being like that, but hey, let's go. I don't want to go too far in a
Yeah.
rant here.
I get it.
But like, here we are in a situation where no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. And the
Yeah.
nurse would come just like you say, like, well, the person that comes on Mondays and Wednesdays, I know you like her, but she's not allowed to give medicine. And the same thing, like, is there a way like she could put it to the side and your dad will take it?
I,
I'm like,
I know.
have you seen my
Have you
dad's
seen? Yeah.
condition?
No.
I gotta take him to he shits himself. He
I
shits
know.
himself. Do you
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
that? He
Not taking the
doesn't have
meds
the
on his own. Yeah.
They're taking fucking meds on his own. I'm paying you $10,000
Uh-huh.
to the state, and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is going on
I
with
know.
this system?
Yeah.
It drives me
Well,
nuts
it's
when
funny too,
people.
because another thing is what I was saying with this community Medicaid. So they would take money out of mom's account and then it builds up and you're supposed to send receipts for something. So like, okay. And then you have to wait for your credit card statement, such a whatever. So you go grocery shopping. Okay. Save the receipt, save your credit card, fill out the reimbursement and send it to them. So we get, $80 back, however it is.
Right,
So,
right.
change every utility into mom's name. Okay. Do this, do that, whatever. And I guess, when they first explain it to you, you're half paying attention. You're like, okay, yeah, whatever. So now
And you're desperate.
months have gone by and now there's a lot of money in this account, but you need to spend it down because otherwise if mom passes, that money's gone too.
All
So
of it's gone.
I spoke to it was like a special needs trust. This is where the money went to. And I'm like, well, I can't buy $10,000 worth of groceries. So how am I spending down this money? Because even with her mortgage payments, you would need to change around because her name is on it, but also my dad. So they would only pay half of it. It's just everything's bullshit. So she's like, well, what you can do, although this is morbid, is you prepay for funeral arrangements,
Right.
which
That's what
is
I
what we
had to
did. I'm
do.
like, okay, well, that's spending the money down. Take a $10,000 and put it towards a funeral. So that's what we had to do because you're never spending. You're not keeping up with
Oh,
all this.
oh
Um,
my God! I completely forgot about that.
yeah, yeah.
I completely
And like I
forgot
said,
about.
I'm young and I'm working, so I'm able to have a scanner and keep track of my credit card, do whatever. But someone who's older, trying to keep track and do these things, I don't imagine how easy that must be for them. You know.
You know, and I know, and on a wider scale, it makes me go down so many rabbit holes of our whole existence. Like I literally, I go to Africa a lot.
Hmm.
But when I watch the family dynamic, like what did we do for years before hospitals came? Like what did we do?
Yeah.
And then as hospitals have grown, they're probably the most unpleasant experiences. They're all white. Well, like, and a doctor comes in once every, like my
Oh,
mother-in-law,
yeah.
my mother-in-law had AFib, right? So she's in Tampa. She goes to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And now she can't be released. It's back to normal, but she's got to wait 20 hours
Yeah.
for the heart doctor to show up and do whatever. And in the past too, like a funeral parlor, it just, I
Yeah.
feel like everything is designed to keep life just simple. You know,
Yeah.
if it was years ago and we were family and we all lived in a little village or whatever, we'd probably we'd all take care of one another.
Yeah.
And when mom or dad pass, we bury them right there. And we have a ritual. When I say a ritual, we cry, we laugh, we play songs, we do whatever it is. And it didn't cost anything. Nothing. The state's not taking our money.
Yeah.
The hospital's not taking our money.
Yeah.
Medicare's not taking my money. No, it's all money. It drives me crazy
I know.
that
And,
people don't understand till they go through it.
we are fortunate because my dad, has a pension
Right.
and had money to do this, because quite honestly, if he did not, I don't know how, you
How
really
to,
solely rely on the system. We were
yes.
kind of offsetting things because we were able to, but if you're solely relying on the system to help you out, or just relying on yourself, really, it's so stressful, and I mean, we're fortunate enough with my dad, but um it's, and even that, he doesn't make a ton of money. He's not like, he's not a millionaire to make all this money, but
No. And
it's crazy. It's
but
crazy.
how but that's the thing too. It's like you work and thank God I made money that I can do that.
Yeah.
And even at that time, I was dishing out
Yeah.
$10,000 a month between my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
Because now there was one point where they both needed
Yeah. It
care.
needed some, oh God, I know.
And it's like
Yep. No.
your father's whole livelihood
Hmm.
basically
Yeah. It's
works
paying for
works works to the end, and now we're
Yeah.
going to drain your bank account.
Hmm.
So the system, which is absolutely horrible,
Hmm.
horrible. I will go tooth and nail with any expert from any department. You call yourself Medicare, whoever wants to defend that world, I dare you to come on and we'll talk personal. And I will
Yeah.
fucking bury you, and we'll all bury you. It's a system that is made not to help. It is
Yeah.
made to make your life miserable, to drain your bank account and not be there for you emotionally. And what's sad is so many people really, I think teachers want to be teachers, nurses want to be nurses, doctors first
Yeah.
want to be doctors. And then they realize they're stuck in a system. No different than me want to be an actor. Okay, well,
Yeah.
you got to join a club eventually. Well, I
Yeah.
don't want to join any clubs. Well, if you want to be you really want to make
Gotta
it, got to
join the
join a
club.
club. I don't want to join the club.
Yeah.
I don't
You're
want to be
right.
in this club, that club, or that club. I can't. So I make it to here, and then I'm not allowed to go any further.
Yeah.
It's. I hope all this comes to an
I
end
get
one
it.
day.
I get it. Yeah.
Um, but I cannot thank you enough for sharing today's experience, because the thing that I loved that you said that night was, Uncle Jim, I think so many people should know about this. Like, no one's prepared for this.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you took the time to do that, because no one is prepared for this.
Yeah.
You think you have all these things to look after you. You really don't.
I
You
know.
really don't.
I know.
And at the end of the
No,
day,
I
you
I
got each other.
enjoy talking about it too. I feel like, I love talking about my mom. I love my mom. I miss her. She was
So
great,
funny.
She was funny. She was
She was
life of the
very funny.
party, always
She
loved a
was. Yeah.
theme, she was
Yes.
yeah, she was great. So miss her.
And for all we know, it's her that's driving this right now.
Could be.
And I believe in that spiritual, you don't know,
Yeah.
like, can you imagine one day, who knows, the whole system changes just from a simple conversation like this?
Yeah.
And for all we know, it's because of what you went through, what I went through. But
Yeah.
if you didn't go through it, you wouldn't be helping so many people right now. And
Yeah.
you are helping a lot of people right now.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because, I think while you're in it too, everyone's like, oh my God, you're a saint, you're a saint, you and your brothers are saints. And I'm like, no, but we're not, because you have no other choice but to do what you're doing. And actually you hate doing it half the time too. It's like, no, I am far from a saint, because this is just what you're forced to do, and this is what you have to do. That's, you step up, and that's just what you have to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Just
So,
do it.
um, well, thank you, Peggy.
Oh, I love being on it. I love talking to you.
Yeah, we got to do this again.
I would love to. Absolutely.
This was
many
awesome.
more stories.
Many, many, many stories.
Many more.
I guess we'll have to start finding. We'll have to connect, and then hash out a couple stories that we'll have to share to the world. And that's a great thing too. You're in the healing zone or healed zone. A lot of people, it takes a while to get to that point, but you're there, I'm there, where now we can look back at it and talk about that. But I can't thank you enough. I really admire all of you.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I liked talking it out.
We talked it out, Peg.
Talked it out.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye, Jim.
Take care. It's my niece Peggy, and I'm so glad she was able to come on and experience that, and let you know, because what you don't know is she comes from a very strong family. I come from a strong-rooted family. This drops atom bombs in families. It drops atom bombs. Pow! And the more our society gets back to, hey, we're all on borrowed time, and that includes your mother, your father, your grandparents, your aunt, your uncle, all the people you look up to, and you start to realize, perhaps, it's not all about you. It's not all about you becoming the greatest CEO and the best person in the world and make all the money, blah, blah, blah. It's about looking after each other and understanding these cycles in life. Your parents come, and then they're going to reach a point where they need you, and then they're going to go. And I feel like the system that we now call in our country has failed us horrendously with keeping that family look after each other unit. And they've set up a system with Medicare and hospitals and insurance. I'm sorry. In my personal opinion, I think it's failed horrendously. And it's all about money, and it's all about everything but what life is supposed to be. And I don't know where you start that. I don't know if you start it in schools, which I don't even believe in anymore. I don't believe in any schools. It doesn't teach you anything. Doesn't teach you morals, doesn't teach you care, doesn't teach you spirituality, doesn't teach you how to lift each other up. Teach you bullshit. And then if you can't keep up with it, they got drugs for you. This whole system has to change. And we have to, and I know I've been saying it a lot lately, we got to take care of one another. Stop watching news, stop jumping into politics. Everything that divides you, you have to stop. Because people like my niece Peggy and all my nephews, all the Brewers and myself, we don't want you to go through what we went through without some prep and understanding. No matter what, it's coming your way. There's no stopping it. No matter what, it's coming your way. So keep that in the back of your mind. I want to thank Peggy for coming on today, and everyone for checking out the Breuniverse. Only have one date this year, March 31st. You can get tickets for that and all that good jazz. Thanks for joining us, and I wish you all the best on the Breuniverse. See you next time. Jim Breuer, and I got my own Patreon page, and hopefully you'll check it out. Live comedy concert streamed once a month. Early access to the Breuniverse podcast every single week, and have bonus footage and bonus segments. I promise you I'm not going to let you down. Go check out my official Jim Breuer Patreon page, and I'll see you there.
Mike's in panic mode.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on my end.
So you can't hear me?
I can, but it's not coming through my headset. It's coming out of my speakers for some reason. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Hello, 1, 2, 3.
Jim, the red box on the floor by the underneath the desk. Yeah, there's 2 microphone inputs.
On the right. Turn that all the way down.
Test 1, 2, left.
Wait, you're talking in the mic right now?
Yep. Peggy, don't panic.
Yeah, no, that's my job. Yeah, that sounds like shit.
You know, we didn't do a test run.
No, we didn't. Can you turn the volume back up?
Yeah, I'm going to turn the volume up. I'm going to talk in the other one. Let me turn the other one up.
I mean, you can always pull the mic cable out and swap cables. Go back down to the red box. There's a button with a light that says 48V.
Made it!
Oh my god. Oh, jeez.